Independent Marketing. Thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning on our webinar on personal accident with American General, AIG. Just a couple of housekeeping rules up front. Everybody is in listen-only mode for most of the webinar as we are recording it. We will unmute each of you toward the end of the call to allow any Q&A that you may have from myself or our guest presenter today, Paul Gonzalez with AIG. Just a couple of commercials. Upcoming webinars, and all of our webinars are on our website. If you go to www.whyaim.com, so wyaim.com, click on News and Events. You can scroll down the right-hand side. You'll see upcoming webinars where you can feel free to register. And also you go to that same page, and you can go backwards in time up to almost a year ago, looking at past webinars, and we've recorded all those, and you can view the recorded session just as if you click on it as if you're going to register for it, and it'll take you to a link to view the YouTube recording of our webinars. Upcoming in the next week or so, our schedule is such that we have a webinar this Friday at 9 with Transamerica, talking about both their MedSup and their relatively new final expense offering. Next Tuesday, we're doing a webinar on what we call our Connected Agent program. It's a suite of technology that we developed that helps you launch your own website in a matter of a couple of hours. And we've developed all kinds of insurance content, a lot of insurance content for products we don't even represent. As an example, we have content on that website for pet insurance. And then the day after, on Wednesday, a special session in preparation of next month being Long-Term Care Insurance Awareness Month. We have a guest speaker in Jonas Rozier from the 3 and 4 More campaign, offering you some tips and techniques as to how you could launch your successful marketing campaigns for the month of November. So with that, again, thank you for joining us. Got a little bit after the top of the hour. I'd like to introduce Paul Gonzalez, National Sales Director with AIG and their Accident and Health Division. And today he's going to be chatting with us about their guarantee issue personal accident policy that also offers a critical illness rider available to it as well. So Paul, why don't you go ahead and take it away.
All right, great. Thanks, Dave. And again, guys, I appreciate you joining us today. For those of you who might have been on the call last Tuesday, we covered American General standalone critical illness policy, Critical Care Plus. If you recall from the conversation we had last week, the biggest thing that we were trying to make sure everybody understood is that there's a market for these products, regardless of what type of product is your main seller or what your main focus of your business might be, whether it's life insurance, long-term care, health insurance, or financial planning. One of the things that we have found at American General with our A&H product portfolio is it really does offer you some opportunities to go back into your book of business and either upsell a current customer or make 2 sales to a prospect by offering additional types of coverage that you can offer through one company. And with that, we'll go ahead and talk about the best kept secret for increasing your revenue. You know, one of the things that I've learned in this business, I work for a life insurance company that also has a lot of sister companies very well known for financial product. And anytime we mention the word health in the presentation, a lot of the ears get turned off. This is not their line of business. They don't sell health insurance. Why are they learning about supplemental health plans? One of the things we want to make sure you guys understand is this is not medical insurance. This is not health insurance. This is a supplemental plan. And really what it is a quick, easy sale in a way to protect your customer the same way you protect them with any other products that you offer out there today. The major difference is these are transactional type policies, very easy to write. Most of them are guaranteed issue or simplified issue based on which product you're choosing. And we do even offer an e-submission process for some of these products. So, you know, just keep an open mind as we go through these products, and maybe you'll find that within your book of business you have some opportunities to go right after, or just know that the next time you have a customer who might fit the target market for this type of product, like I said, you can make 2 sales at the point of sale instead of 1. You know, let's take a fresh look at the accident health insurance and what we actually are trying to do. We're really trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do with any other type of insurance policy, which is protect the assets of the insured. A lot of these situations are trying to cover the unforeseen or the unknown in the future, and it's always nice to know that there's an opportunity to put some cash back in your pockets in the event one of those unforeseen events occurs to you or to your insured. One of the things that these policies do is they actually pay a benefit while the customer is alive, unlike life insurance where the beneficiary might see the check. These type of policies, they're high claim policies, and you're going to see that people actually benefit from these policies, and when they do, it's nice to be the one that helped them to, number one, protect themselves and their family, but number two, deliver that check to them in a time of need and help them to become whole on a situation that might have ruined their financial plan for that month, that several months, or that year. One of the great things about us not being part of the whole major medical transition is that our commissions were not affected by the healthcare reform. Therefore, we still pay some pretty healthy commissions on these type of products. And like I said, because it's transactional business and these are policies that are pretty affordable, this is a great opportunity for you to maybe make a little bit extra anytime you have a person in front of you and have the opportunity to present a second product. And it will complement any existing client's financial plans, regardless of what they're trying to do with you, whether it's buy life insurance, create a financial retirement plan, to talk about long-term care. There's an opportunity for them to talk about a product that complements what they're already concerned about by offering this type of coverage. There's a growing trend out there in the marketplace, and anybody who sold an annuity or a traditional life insurance policy has heard nothing but new things about these living benefit attachments, whether it's some type of GMWB to pay additional income as long as the person's retired, some type of long-term care trigger on either annuity product or a life insurance product, some type of chronic illness coverage, critical illness coverage. You'll notice that a lot of these things, these living benefits, are starting to be more and more prevalent out there in the marketplace today, and there's very simple reasons why. The advances in medical technology are extending our life expectancy out there. Things that used to kill us we're now surviving, and because of that, there's the great I've survived this, but now there's the other side of it, which is, do I have a plan in place to take care of the bills and the lost income and all the other things that can occur with these unforeseen events? There's a high frequency of accidental injuries, and all you have to do is be a parent to know how many times you visited the ER in your life. Anyone who's got a child has probably seen the ER at least once because of an accident, and if you've got multiple children, you've probably seen that ER way more than you're comfortable with admitting. But accidents happen all the time, not just to children, but to ourselves as adults, and even to those who are a little bit older, and there's an opportunity to protect them with a plan like this. Unplanned illnesses will cause financial stress, and that they will ruin plans. We talked about it last week when we talked about critical illness insurance. The worst thing that happens when somebody gets diagnosed with a condition like a critical illness or has a major accident that forces them to rethink what they're going to do for the next couple of months, a lot of times the first thing they're going to stop is paying their premiums on their life insurance. That's the first thing they're going to think of. Or they're going to go to their retirement plans and try to draw money out to try to offset some of the costs. If they have a plan in place and they get dollars infused into their pocket from an insurance carrier when one of these situations occurs, they can keep their financial plan in track and not have to dip into the reserves before they get a chance to get a check from an insurance company. And then medical-related bankruptcies are really the biggest reason why these type of plans are important. And we'll talk about some stats on the next slide. But the unfortunate thing is situations like these do cause bankruptcies in the United States. I would say up until a few years ago was probably the leading reason why most bankruptcies occurred. Now you might see that there might be some other issues, with real estate and things like that. But it's still a significant number of people who have to file bankruptcy when they have medical illness situations. Whenever we talk about these products, what we're really trying to do is we want to help you guys to understand where the fit is, when are the best places to talk about these type of policies, who are the right people, what instances would make it pertinent for you to bring it up in the conversation and not seem like it's coming from left field. But it's just like anything else that you would pitch traditional life insurance when certain triggers occurred. A couple just got married, they just purchased a home or a car. They just are having their first baby or having their second baby. They're saving for retirement or they're saving for college for their children. All these events trigger a thought into most people's mind to go out there and seek out traditional life insurance. They want to make sure that their loved ones are protected in the event of untimely death. But there's also a number of things that happen that are unplanned that have nothing to do with death. And as we talked about, a lot of things that might have killed us in the past we're now surviving. Some of those things include critical illnesses like invasive cancer, heart attack, or stroke. And the other thing would be an accidental injury. There are several accidents that are low cost. You go to the emergency room, they put a splint on your finger because you hit it with a hammer or whatever the case might be. But there are a lot of accidents that require major surgeries, diagnostic exams, follow-up care, physical therapy. These type of things can really disrupt the financial plan of the household, and we want to make sure that our customers understand that they can protect themselves against those. I talked about bankruptcies in the past, and anybody who's ever heard me speak, I'll say this every time I talk. Stats don't work at the point of sale. When I was an agent out in the field, I never had won a sale because I shared stats. But stats do help the agent understand why it's important to talk about things, why it's important to bring these things up, why their customers need this insurance and need to hear about these stories. More than 60% of personal bankruptcies are medically related. 78% of them reported that they had some form of major medical insurance in place. So all that tells us is that, yes, they had a plan in place 78% of the time, but there are a lot of gaps in that plan. There are a lot of holes in that plan, and they didn't realize the holes in that plan until they got diagnosed with one of these conditions or had a serious situation that required them to seek care in an emergency room, admitted to the hospital, etc. Every 25 seconds, an American experiences a coronary event. Every 40 seconds, an American has a stroke. 1 in 2 men will develop some form of cancer, and about 1 in 3 women will develop some form of cancer. And then this last stat, about 1 out of every 9 Americans seeks medical attention for injuries in each year. I mean, that's those stats all let you know that these things happen way more often than an untimely death. These things happen on a day-to-day basis to somebody in your book of business, and there's got to be an opportunity to bring this type of coverage in front of them and say, here's an opportunity to protect yourself and your family against these unforeseen events. So we talk about how the client wins with these type of policies, and this is something that I talked about earlier, but when you have an unplanned critical illness diagnosis or an accidental injury that requires medical care, it doesn't stop them from contributing to their retirement account if they have money coming to them from American General when this event occurs. It allows them to continue their business, which is one of the huge things. If you're in a small business marketplace, small things like being hurt, if you work for a corporation, you can call in sick and there's somebody who's got your back and they cover your phones and check your email for you is one thing. But somebody that runs a small business and has a disruption like this can really upset not only their household, but their business in general. Having a plan in place to have dollars infused into that situation so they can either hire the help they need or find a way to get the care that's going to get them back the fastest to working. Great opportunity for you to present to small business owners. They don't have to stop college funding for their children. They don't have to disrupt their mortgage payments, and they can do things like home modifications if the injury or the debilitating disease is that severe. They now have cash to handle those type of things like home modifications. Like I said, the biggest problem with the major medical insurance is a lot of times people don't know what their insurance covers until they have one of these situations. They might understand the deductible just because it's written on their card, $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible. They might understand that part, but very few understand the co-pays, and then on top of that, the out-of-pocket expenses. With these type of policies, when cash gets infused into their household when these events occur, that cash gives them the options. Not only the options to seek the care that their major medical will allow them to, but they can even go outside of their network. They can seek experimental coverages, and they now have the cash to do that without being fearful of what their insurance is going to cover or what it's not going to cover. They have the leverage of care from the best physicians, and I think that's really important. One of the things I always talk about is being here in Houston, Texas. We've got one of the greatest cancer facilities in the world, and there are several people who I've met personally who have moved here to either get themselves the care here in Houston or move their child here or another family member or friend here to seek the care that they're really looking for, and they couldn't afford it without some type of insurance policy in place. Most major medical policies aren't going to allow you to cover the transportation costs, the lodging costs while you're seeking care at a facility that's as high quality as the cancer facility here in Houston, Texas. And again, minimalizing local travel expenses to get to preferred treatment. All these things can be done now because your customer had this policy in place. They now have a lot of options as to how to seek the best care for themselves or their family member, and those dollars become very valuable to them at that point in time. So we kind of talked a little bit at the high level as to why you'd want to be talking about accidental injury insurance or critical illness insurance with your customers. One of the things we want to make clear is these plans that American General offers are accident only as far as the base plan is concerned. So the base plan, the triggering event is always going to be an accident that leads to the insured seeking out care within 72 hours. So we're talking about pretty serious injuries that require some immediate attention from either an urgent care facility, an ER, their primary care physician, etc. But the trigger is going to be an accident. And one of the things I like to make sure everybody's clear on whenever we talk about these policies is the difference between an accident, which would be covered by our policy, or an injury, which would not be covered by our policy. So we've got a couple of different activities on the screen now. The first one would be shoveling snow. Anybody who lives in the north understands you have to shovel snow a lot during the wintertime. When you're out there shoveling snow, sometimes you might strain your back or herniate a disc. These are probably either based on pre-existing conditions or just normal wear and tear of your body. But there's no real accident in that situation, so our policy would not cover that situation. However, if somebody was walking out to their sidewalk, slipped on some of the ice, and either broke their arm or hurt their back because they slipped and fell, in that situation there was an accident that led to an injury, and our policy would pay. Another big thing that we talk about in a lot of our promotion is around children, and when they play sports, they're very active. There are a lot of things that can happen on the field of play that one would be considered an injury, one would be considered an accidental injury. So for example, if they were playing baseball and they were the pitcher and they were throwing balls all summer long, all season long, and they end up tearing a rotator cuff, that's normal wear and tear, that's an injury, there's no accident there. Even though it's an unplanned situation, it's still not an accident. However, if they were in the batter's box and the pitcher threw an errant pitch and hit them on the wrist and it broke a bone, or fractured a bone, that would be considered an accidental injury. So there are situations where we cover accidents that are on the playing field. Again, these are great opportunities to talk to people who have children, because children are a lot more active than most adults. They do a lot of things that put them in harm's way, and an accident can occur, like I said, on a playing field or while they're playing, even not sports, but other things that kids play. You have the opportunity to cover that family in the event they need to visit the emergency room because of an accidental injury. And then our third example here is jogging. Straining or tearing a ligament from a regular running routine. Again, this is normal wear and tear. These are injuries that occur, but there's no real accident that happened. However, if you misstep, say you're running in a park and there's a little bit of change in elevation and you misstep and you fall and fracture an ankle, in that situation there was an accident, and at that point our policy would pay. So it's really important for you as the agent to understand that American General's policies are accident injury only, and when your clients ask questions, I always refer them back to this screen and then ask them to not ask any further questions, because a lot of times you can get in a lot of gray area when you're battling between what's an injury and what's an accident. But if you can clearly lay out these three examples and show them the difference, it'll really help out on the back end once they finally find a situation where they think they need to file a claim. Now, American General does offer a number of different accidental injury plans. The reason being is that we've been in this business for quite some time. As we've launched new products, we found that some states have not approved our newer products, so we've kept the old products available in those states where we couldn't get the newer products approved. There is a difference between the three plans, and I want to cover the three plans as we go through this presentation. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I don't want to get into the weeds of all of them, but I do want to make sure everybody understands that for the most part, there's at least one policy in place in any state that's out there. In California and Florida, for example, Emergency Care Plus is our accident plan. It's actually our first generation accident plan, and I'll talk about the way the plan works in a moment. But for those of you who sell in California or in Florida, you want to know Emergency Care Plus. In California, there's also a critical illness rider available, and we'll talk about that critical illness rider as well. For the majority of our states, it's Accident Choice Plus, which is our last newest product of offering in the accidental injury space. Works very similar to Accident Expense Plus, which is still out there for the number of states you see on the screen in front of you. So we do have a solution, like I said, in most states. There is a pretty significant difference between the way Emergency Care Plus works and the last two work, and we'll try to cover a little bit of that, but like I said, I don't want to get too far in the weeds. In the event you find that these are products that you want to learn more about, I will be happy to share some marketing information with you, producer guides, consumer guides, how to quote the products, etc. And then if you wanted to get into an even deeper dive, I'd be more than happy to train on each individual product depending on what state you're in and what product you wanted to run with. So the biggest difference between Emergency Care Plus and Accident Expense Plus and Accident Choice Plus is Emergency Care Plus is our first generation accident plan, and it's more traditional. If you've ever sold an accident plan out there, you probably know what a schedule of benefits is. Very similar to products like AFLAC. Basically, there's a list of things that we cover if they were to occur as a result of an accident, such as placing a bone, fixing a fracture, sutures, transportation by ambulance, whether it's ground or air, and based on the schedule, there's going to be some type of value that's appointed to each of those situations. And then the customer can purchase some type of coverage either based on any number of units, and we get 1, 2, or 3 times that schedule based on the services that are provided. It's a little bit more difficult to explain at the point of sale if nobody's ever purchased that before, and if you've never sold that type of policy, you definitely want to get familiar with what a schedule of benefits is and how it works. Our last 2 products, both of the accident products that are up on the screen at the bottom here, Accident Expense Plus and Accident Choice Plus, are actually reimbursement plans. And when we launched these products, the reason why we did so is because we did feel like there had to be an easier way to approach the accidental injury situation, and reimbursement just seemed to work best. What we basically do is we say you've got an annual reimbursement limit. You submit your explanation of benefits that shows us the final cost of all the services provided as a direct result of the accidental injury, and then we're going to cut you a check based on that explanation of benefits and the final costs. So you don't have to worry about explaining a schedule. You don't have to worry about how many units of something somebody has. All you have to do is explain your insured that when they have a claim, they file it after they've received their final explanation of benefits, and American General is going to reimburse them up to the amount of their annual reimbursement benefit for all the services provided. Really a lot easier way to handle the accidental situation. But again, if you're in states like Florida or California, you may not have these products available, but you do have the Emergency Care Plus out there for you to sell. Like I said, we won't get into too much detail, but I will tell you that Emergency Care Plus is a very attractive plan from an affordability standpoint. Not only can we cover the individual, but we can cover their family, or just the individual and their children, or individual and their spouse. It is a very rich product in Florida, so if you have any clients in Florida, the benefits are extremely rich in Florida for the premiums that they're paying. Extremely affordable plan to present, especially in the family situation where they're trying to cover themselves in the event of an emergency room visit. Our issue ages for this policy are 18 to 64, which gives you a pretty broad range of a target market. This one is simplified issue, so there are some application questions that if their answer is yes to, they may not be able to be offered 24-hour coverage, but they could still get out of work coverage. It is guaranteed renewable to age 75, and again, there's no APS, parameds, or exam. It's just the application and those questions on the application. This is the schedule that's on the screen right now. If you wanted to see what we actually paid, like I said, in all states but Florida, where this product is still sold, this is the schedule. In Florida, the benefits are actually a lot higher than in all other states. But in California, if you were to sell one of these plans, this is what 1 unit would be worth. Of course, if they purchased 3 units of the base plan, they would get 3 times all the benefits listed. So if they were ambulanced by air and they had 3 units of our base plan, they would get $1,500 for being ambulanced by air. If they had a diagnostic exam, they would get 3 times that, or $225. So again, it's from a standpoint of how it works, the schedule is what drives the amount of reimbursement they're going to get for that accidental situation. This plan in most states also offers a couple of additional riders that are very popular. The one in particular is the hospital cash benefit rider, which pays an additional benefit in the event the insured is admitted to a hospital and held into a hospital for a number of days. They have an admission benefit as well as a per day benefit that would be paid out just based on that admission. At that point, we're not looking for any other clarification on what type of care they're receiving. We just need verification that they were admitted to the hospital because of the accidental injury. And so that benefit is one of the riders that we do see a lot of being attached to the base plan. Accident Expense Plus, like I said, is available in a handful of states. I would say about 9 states today. It covers amounts from $1,000 to $15,000 of annual reimbursement. And I'll go over an example in a moment as to how that reimbursement works. We also offer a couple of deductible options. What you'll find with American General and with this policy is if you run quotes, you'll get very comfortable very quickly. If you run a quote for $5,000 annual reimbursement and then $15,000 to see the premium difference, it makes very little difference in the premiums if you go from that. So what you'll see is most people selling the maximum $15,000 annual reimbursement benefit. Another thing that affects pricing tremendously is going from a $0 deductible to a $250 or a $500. It's a one-time deductible that has to be met every calendar year. They don't have to pay it out of pocket. We basically just withhold that first amount of their deductible and then pay the overage based on their explanation of benefits. So if they had a $1,000 explanation of benefits, but they had a $250 deductible, the insured would receive a check for $750. And then any other accidental injury that happened in that same year, they would be paid on $1. January 1, both the reimbursement amount and the deductible option will reset. The critical illness benefits on this policy go from $5,000 to $25,000. That is in $5,000 increments, and also on Emergency Care Plus in California, it's the exact same rider. So you can purchase anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. You can get coverage not only on the individual, but on individual and spouse, individual and children, or a family plan. They could also add that rider to the family as well. They don't have to, but they have the option to do so. The issue age for this policy is 0 to 64, which gives you an even wider target market. And if you do want to insure a minor, so somebody doesn't want their coverage for themselves, but they just want to cover their 16-year-old son, for example, the 16-year-old son can be the primary insured. So we do have the ability to issue on just one child as an individual policyholder. And this policy, unlike the other one, is only guaranteed renewable to age 65. So this policy, on the contract anniversary after their 65th birthday, the policy is no longer enforced. So again, I talked about the reimbursement. It's dollar for dollar reimbursement up to the calendar year maximum. So if you have a $15,000 plan, for example, you have up to $15,000 in reimbursement due to you in that calendar year for any accidental injury you may occur. If you max out the $15,000, you wouldn't be able to file any more claims for that calendar year, but starting January 1 the next year, you have an additional $15,000 for the year. So each year you have whatever the reimbursement amount that your insured has issued, they have up to that amount every year. Same thing with the calendar year deductible. Like I said, it's not per claim, it's just once per calendar year. In a family situation, you have to have 2 individuals meet that claim, that deductible on a claim, and then anybody else who had an accident that year would be paid on $1. So again, same situation. If they met their deductible this year, they would get paid on $1 up to their reimbursement for anything after that. And then on January 1, they would reset not only the reimbursement amount, but also that deductible. Some of the costs that can be covered, and this is just a very small list of some of the things that would be covered: a visit to the emergency room, admission to a hospital, getting care at an urgent care center, surgery that might be directly related to the accidental injury, which does have a limited time frame of 30 days, so they need to have the follow-up surgery within 30 days, major diagnostic exams, x-rays, and physical therapy. Up to 6 physical therapy sessions can also be covered by this plan. The key is that this policy, all of these policies, are really trying to protect against that initial visit. This is not something that has an open end on the backside, where if somebody has some permanent damage from the accidental injury, that every time they go seek care, they can continue to file a claim. We really are covering that first day, and then a few things that can go up to 30 days beyond that. But anything that happens outside of that 30-day window is not going to be covered by this policy. Typically, that's where your major medical insurance should be covering some of those additional visits. But again, the explanation of benefits will let us know all the services that were provided, less any discounts, and American General is going to reimburse based on that amount. And I think another key thing to make sure that everybody's aware of is that we don't coordinate with their major medical coverage. So even though we ask for the explanation of benefits, we don't really want to know what their direct out-of-pocket costs were. So if they have a major medical plan that's really good and they only have a $500 annual deductible, and that's pretty much all they had to come out of pocket for their emergency room visit, even if all the costs of the of the care was over $500, American General is going to pay what that final billing was with the explanation of benefits, not what their direct out-of-pocket is, which means they could actually get paid more than their direct out-of-pocket costs were. I did mention the critical illness rider, and I think this is really the thing that probably will be that will fit very well in your business. We talked about critical illness as a standalone. This is really a slimmed down version of that. So yes, you have to sell the accident plan in order to sell this, but you can couple them together to cover the accidental injury situation and also add some critical illness coverage by adding the rider to the policy. We cover 3 major critical illnesses: invasive cancer, heart attack, and stroke. It's a lump sum benefit that's paid upon diagnosis. So if they have a $25,000 critical illness rider on their accident plan and they get diagnosed with invasive cancer, they file a claim, they get a check for $25,000. For that individual, they no longer have any additional critical illness coverage, but they can continue in the accident plan, and they can use that $25,000 to do whatever they please. There are a few states where there might be some differences as far as the amount that can be offered, but for the most part, it's anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 and $5,000 increments. So again, you're able to cover the accidental injury side with the accident plan, and then add a critical illness benefit that's very affordable, slimmed down version of what we offer in the standalone by only covering those 3 conditions and by only going up to $25,000 in coverage. But on a single application, you can cover both of those situations. This product is a guaranteed issue product. The critical illness is on an accept or reject basis. Children are eligible for critical illness benefits, and we do have sex-distinct rates, age-banded rates for the policy, and also tobacco and non-tobacco rates on the critical illness rider. Accident Choice Plus is our newest, it's our latest and greatest product. Biggest difference is that the accident benefit amounts actually go up to $25,000 now, so you can offer anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 in annual reimbursement benefits. The deductible options changed a little bit, so they're $100, $300, and $500. A lot of the other things are the same. Guaranteed issue, guaranteed renewable to 65, issue age is 0 to 64. This one not only has the critical illness rider that we talked about, but like the Emergency Care Plus plan at the beginning, we have an accidental death and dismemberment rider and also an accidental disability income insurance rider that you can add to this policy. Again, these are the type of things that you can take one application and cover multiple situations. We do see agents who either will sell the accidental injury plan and only add the accidental only DI plan, benefit rider to the plan, or only add the critical illness. But you have the opportunity to add 2, 3, or 4 coverages on one application with Accident Choice Plus. Same situation as far as seeking the care within 72 hours. Same situation about the resetting of the deductible per claim, not per claim, but on a calendar year. Covers the same situations, and again, it's 24-hour coverage. The exclusions are one of the things a lot of people ask about these accident plans are the exclusions. The only occupation that we won't offer 24-hour coverage on these plans are professional athletes, professional or semi-professional athletes. Anybody else in any type of occupation, even if they're high risk, can qualify for an accident plan. So that was a little bit of a high level on the accident plans that American General offers. I will tell you that for your individual state, you want to make sure that you're offering the correct product. And if you want additional details, you can go to our website, estation.americangeneral.com. If you look under products and then accident and health, you'll see a link to all the products that are available to you. If you have any specific questions, you can email ANHmarketing@americangeneral.com. That's A&H marketing@americangeneral.com. You can always call our sales desk at 877-399-7747. And if you needed illustrations, these products all have rapid raters, which are really easy to get to, or if you have access to WinFlex, you can quote them on WinFlex applications, and any other forms can be ordered through Forms Depot or iPipeline, so very similar to all the other products that we offer here at American General. They're available there. And then the last 2 products that we talked about, Accident Expense Plus and Accident Choice Plus, for those of you who prefer to use an e-application, there's also an opportunity to do an e-application. At this point, I just wanted to say again, thank you for taking the time to join me today. I know that was a lot of information on the back end, especially about the different products. But I hope what you've heard today is that you've got opportunities within your book of business to increase your revenue with guaranteed issue products to not only cover the accidental injury situation, but to cover critical illness. I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to close out the year strong. And I'll turn it back over to Dave. Thanks again, Dave.
Hey, thanks again, Paul. All good information. Additional ways for you to increase your commissions and your revenue coming into your practice. We really do appreciate you taking time to join us today. Again, we do record all of our webinars. They are available for viewing on our website, which is www.whyAIM.com. Click on News and Events. You can scroll down the calendar of the upcoming webinars, or you can go back in time and click on any webinar we've done in the past, and it will take you to a link to view the recorded session as well. Again, the upcoming webinars for the next week and a half or so, this Friday we're doing one with Transamerica on both their Medicare supplement and their relatively new final expense offering. Next Tuesday we're doing a webinar on our own program called the Connected Agent. It's a technology we developed that help you launch your own practice website and get it up and running in less than a couple hours worth of work. And then Wednesday, a very special session with Jonas Rozier from the 3 and 4 and More campaign, getting you hyped up for Long-Term Care Insurance Awareness Month during the month of November. I have unmuted those of you who are on the call. If you have any questions of myself or Paul, feel free to bring those up at this time.
Dave, this is Barry Amsler in Castle Rock, Colorado.
Hey, Barry.
How do they handle when someone is taken in out of the emergency room into observation? This is happening quite often. They'll keep them 2 or 3 days under observation, but they're really not admitted.
Paul, did you hear that one?
Yeah, and again, it's going to be based on the explanation of benefits and the doctor's notes. If in the doctor's notes it's explaining to us that these were all situations that were as a direct result of the accident, it's going to be part of the reimbursement. So if they're being charged a per day for being in observation, that would be included in their explanation of benefits to us. So, and that's the key difference between the accident expense plus and accident choice plus and the emergency care plus, because the emergency care plus does have a specific, hospital cash benefit rider that requires you to be admitted to the hospital for that to trigger, whereas the reimbursement plan just says, tell us what happened as a direct result, and we're going to reimburse based on that number.
Did that answer your question, Barry?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions out there?
Yeah,
okay, well, again,
in Colorado.
Thanks. Yes.
On the, I got the idea that on the whatever plan was offered outside of Colorado, that they did have a accidental disability rider, but that the accident expense plus does not have that rider. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's not available. Colorado is one of the few states that still has accident expense plus, and that policy the only rider that can be added to that one is a critical illness rider.
Okay. Do you have a separate accidental disability plan?
We don't at this time. We do offer a standalone disability income insurance that's not accident related, but we don't have a accident only DI rider or standalone policy in Colorado.
You might make a note to give us a call after this webinar, the gentleman in Colorado, because we may have a solution for you for an accidental DI policy.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, well, we'll wrap this puppy up. Again, thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning. Have a great day, and if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to give us a call here at American Independent Marketing. Again, our number is 800-672-7202. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great day. Thanks again, Paul.